Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Honey Sriracha Baby Back Ribs. Now, one of the great flavor trios in barbecue is the combination of sweet, spicy, and smoky, all three of which we are going to accomplish today with our Honey Sriracha Baby Back Ribs. It starts pretty simple, a little sriracha slather on the ribs, some honey barbecue rub. It's going into the offset smoker on the Yoder. We're cooking over oak and cherry woods today. And then we're gonna whip up this honey sriracha sauce that you're gonna wanna put on everything from chicken wings to pork chops. But today we're putting it into the foil wrap with the ribs so that those ribs can braise in that sauce and really take on those flavors. Before finishing with a little short open smoke, a little more glaze. Like I said, sweet, spicy, smoky, sticky, icky. Ooh, we about to have some fun. So first thing we've got to do is get our coal bed going in the firebox of the offset. We're cooking on the Yoder loaded Wichita today. So start with just a little fire starter cube. That'll take off here in a sec. And then a chimney full of lump charcoal. This is going to be our heat base that we'll then add our split wood to. Today we're working with some baby back ribs from Creekstone Farms. And one of the things I love about baby back ribs is they don't take a whole lot of work. There's not nearly as much trimming to do on these as, say, like spare ribs, which is nice. But typically what I do is I'll try and feel my way around, see if there's anything kind of poking out that's gonna cause trouble in a foil wrap later. I'll often take off just this last bone, just to square that up. That also gives us a nice meaty last bone here. Now with a lot of baby back ribs, you're gonna find some little bones, right, kind of at the end or in between the other bones. You can choose to take those out or you can leave them in. I typically just leave them in and try to work around them once we're ready to slice the ribs, just because it starts to tear things up. So for today, we're gonna leave those in place, not a big deal. We'll just have to know to watch out for them when we're slicing our ribs. One other thing you're gonna look for when you're trimming your ribs is that paper membrane that's on the back side or the bone side of the ribs. There's just this thin membrane. It doesn't really break down, so you end up kind of chewing on it if you leave it on there. So typically we'll take that off. And most of the time, when you're just going to your big box store and buying your commodity ribs, you're gonna have to do that yourself. Now, Creekstone has gone ahead and taken that off for us, which is great. But if you need to see how to do that, go check out any of our other rib videos. All right, so now that we got these cleaned up a little bit, we're gonna hit them with the little sriracha. This is going to act as our binder. So really not adding a ton of sriracha flavor here. And overall, these are not gonna be like blow you out spicy. Just gonna have a nice heat to it. And sriracha smells so good. All that garlicky chili pepper goodness. Let's go ahead and get this side seasoned up while we're at it. Today we've got the Meat Church Honey Hog Hot. Nice, sweet, slightly spicy base. Good salt content to it as well. All right, let's give this just a minute for this to kind of set up so we don't lose any rub when we flip these over. All right, so get these flipped, do the same thing on the meat side. That little thin barrier gives our rubs something to really hold on to. But we do it thin because we don't want a big thick layer where everything just kind of sloshes off. All right, full coverage. We need a little bit of time for this to tack up on the surface. We'll show you what that looks like. In the meantime, let's go tin the fire. Well, it looks like our coals are ready to be dumped. We're gonna put those in the back of the firebox. That's where we're going to contain our fire for this cook. I like to keep this fire back here so that we're burning a small hot fire at all times, which helps ensure that we get really clean wood smoke. Nothing thick, white, acrid. We want thin blue smoke. I'm gonna throw a little bit of cherry wood on there for now to help get that started. I'm gonna take a split of oak and I'm gonna put that right here in the front of the firebox to warm up. That way when we roll it over, instant combustion, no thick white smoke. We'll leave this pretty open for now so that we can bring the chamber up to temp. And starting off, you're gonna see a lot of this thick white smoke. That's just a consequence of putting cold wood on our coal bed right now. But as this starts to take that draw, take all that smoke through there, this is really gonna thin out into this nice thin blue smoke that we talk about, that we always find so desirable. It just takes a few minutes. All right, these ribs are looking really nice. You see these little moisture pockets. It looks wet all across the surface. That tells me the rub is attached to the meat. Now we see how that smoke is really cleaned up, thin blue smoke. The grill's up to temp. And we're gonna be smoking these at about 275 degrees, right in that range today. We're just a little bit hotter than that right now, but that's okay. Come up here on the second shelf. We've got lots of smoke circulation going on around these. I have to move my thermometer just a little bit. Now down here at this end is going to be a little bit hotter because that's where the fire is. So we'll probably give these a rotation a little bit later. We'll keep our probe right in here to let us know what our temp's at. I'm going to utilize the fireboard too today just because it's an easy way to keep an eye on your pit temp from your phone so you know when it's time to come on out, roll another log over, which we need to do right now. See, that's really cooked down now. I'm gonna throw our oak on there. We'll get a stick of cherry to put next to it. We see how we have flames immediately. This is why we utilize this method with the small hot fire. More air, less fuel, cleaner smoke. This is a technique that you can utilize on just about any offset smoker, even the smaller ones, still using a small fire in the back where you're feeding this a log every 45 minutes, 30, 45 minutes typically. And that's really not too crazy. We've kind of got that dialed in on this specific grill, which is the Yoder Smokers Loaded Wichita. And this one happens to be serial number 1, the first smoker Yoder made. It's sitting on our patio, we gotta cook on it. We've been smoking for about an hour and a half now, maybe just a touch longer than that. I'm predicting this is about halfway through the smoking process before we wrap. So at this point, I wanna rotate our ribs because those ones down by the firebox are getting a little bit more color than the ones over by the chimney. So this rack that's been down by the fire, you can see it's got quite a bit more color and bark going on. We actually spun this about 45 minutes ago to get the color even. This guy down here, not nearly as much of that color. So we're gonna flip this around and put it down by the firebox. This guy in the middle, we'll just go ahead and turn so we can keep kind of getting even color all around. We're getting really close to the 3-hour mark on our rib smoke, and more importantly, those ribs are starting to look really good, which means we're gonna be wrapping soon, which means we need to make this honey sriracha sauce. So this stuff is incredibly easy to make and incredibly tasty. It starts with a half cup or 1 stick of butter. And we're gonna do equal amounts sriracha and honey. We're using that Kansas wildflower honey for this sauce. And then 2 more very important ingredients, and the final 2 ingredients. We've got 4 teaspoons of garlic. It's been run through the microplane, so it's grated super fine. And 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger, same preparation. Now we just let it come up to a simmer, and that's it. All right, we're at a simmer now. I'm gonna bring the heat down just a little bit. It smells incredible. That garlic and ginger waking up. We're gonna let this simmer away just for a couple minutes here. Start to cook down that garlic and ginger just a little bit and let all of those flavors meld together. All right, we're gonna go ahead and transfer this now to a mason jar. This is kind of nice because we're gonna try and kind of eyeball about a half cup of this for each rack of ribs that we wrap. And that's a lot easier to do when you have measurements on the side of your cup. Oh yeah. Man, it's sweet, it's spicy, but the garlic and ginger add so much to it. This would be fantastic for like a sticky chicken wing situation, which I'm pretty sure we'll bring to you sometime in the future. We're just over 3 hours into this smoke now. These ribs are looking great. Let's take a peek. Well, some beautiful bark going on, great colors. Got those fat pockets going on top. So before these go any further, to get any more done, we want to get them wrapped up so we can get some of that sauce on. Checking our fire here before we get these wrapped. One of the little things I like to do to keep a coal bed going is I'll take some lump just throughout the cook and throw a little bit in here to keep that coal bed hot. It takes a lot longer for that stuff to burn down than it does wood. Looking good though. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do about a 1/4 cup on bottom and a 1/4 cup on top of each rack of ribs. And we can kind of keep track of this. It's easy because we made like 1.5 cups total. So now meat side down. And now this is just gonna get like fully encased in that sauce. We'll take 2 sheets of foil. Be careful not to puncture anything. And wrap those up nice and tight. And that's it. Repeat. So that uses up all of our sauce, which is totally fine. We're gonna have a little bit left in the foil wrap to finish these off with, to glaze them right at the end. All right back up on top now. Move this. It's been an hour since we wrapped our ribs, just over 4 hours total now. We need to give these a check. They should be right in that sweet spot where we're ready to take them out of the foil. Oh yeah. Well, you see how that meat's really pulled back from the bones here. As we flip these over and kind of lift them up, you should see where the ends want to stay down here on the surface and the top wants to start breaking over. See that right there? These guys are pretty much done. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take any of the juice that's collected in the foil, put it back into the jar that it came from originally. And that way we can glaze just a little bit of this stuff right on top of the ribs to finish them off. Another great indicator on ribs doneness is if you look right around the bones here, it should be pretty much completely moving freely from that bone. And we're there on these. Boy, just beautiful red color on those right now. So we're gonna pop these right back here on the top rack. And this last little portion doesn't need to take long at all. We're talking like 15, 20 minutes. We just want to give this enough time for that sauce to kind of get tacky on the surface of the ribs. So we're going to paint that on there, just kind of as a finishing sauce. And we'll kind of just let them ride. You know, we're getting some increase in temperature as far as the internal goes, but of course we're not even really checking for that with ribs. We're really just looking for doneness by touch and feel. A lot of that's going to slow down now that we've unwrapped these. All right, let's close it up. But these ribs have had just enough time to tack up that sauce on top. We're looking at just over 4.5 hours on our total cook time today, and they're ready to come off. Boy, that looks pretty. It smells incredible too. Can't wait to bite into these. We've given these just a short rest to kind of cool down a little bit. I'm talking about like 5 minutes or so. Really don't need to go too long on ribs, which is great. We're gonna slice into these. Remember I told you there may be some little bones at this end down here. And for example, here's one of them I'll show you. Just that little nub right there. You don't want to chew on it. Sometimes you're gonna run into it when you're slicing, but for the most part, they don't cause too much trouble. Boy, those ribs look juicy. When they are in the path of you slicing in between bones, you can just pick that bone out of there and discard it. And then you've got a clear path to slice your ribs. And the doneness on these feels really nice. Great juice content, they smell incredible. Let's take a little bite. That's right about how I like it. It's a little bit beyond kind of like the toughness of bite through of like a competition, but it's not completely falling off the bone. But if you want it to, it pulls right off of there, right? Man. Got that little bit of spice. Lighten up my tongue just a little. Love the sweetness. And the smokiness of the offset is undeniable. When you run a clean fire like that, it gives you all the smoke you want without smoking you out. I think we hit it just right today. Man. I can't wait to use this sauce and other stuff, but it works great for the ribs. There's complexity in there because of the garlic and the ginger. It's not just sweet and hot and salty and done. There's a lot going on, and I'm loving all of it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.